Okay, 5 reasons why we don't give. Okay? They all begin with an F. Well, there's an F in there somewhere. The first one is fear. Why don't we give extravagantly? Because we fear. We may have to give things up that give us pleasure. We may get insecure that we don't have enough. Now, we never in our lives really reflect and answer the question, what is enough? What is enough for us to live each day? What is enough for us to get through this week? What is enough for us for the next month, for the rest of our lives? What is enough? And most of us think enough is way a whole lot more than it really needs to be. As you look around at people in the world who get by on a whole lot less than we do, what is enough? So we don't give because we're afraid. We're insecure. We don't trust. A lack of focus is the second thing. We really underestimate the work that it takes to give intentionally, to plan our giving intentionally, in order to take giving seriously. No one gives 10% of their income accidentally. No one incidentally leaves a large gift to a congregation that sustains its life. That's hard work to plan those things. Another reason why is we think we need more finances to give more. We convince ourselves that we'll give 10% when we finally get a financial break that frees us to become generous, right? When we get that large bonus, when we get a promotion, when we get an inheritance, and everybody's favorite, when we win the lottery. Absolutely. Then we can become more generous. Absolutely. But people who can't find the spiritual courage to give from a lesser income are not likely to find it from a greater income. Do I need to say that again? People who can't find the spiritual courage to give from a lesser income are unlikely to find it to contribute from a greater income. This is proven from surveys all over the place. It's people of a lower income who give a larger percentage of their giving to the church than folks who have a larger income. Percentage-wise, not in terms of dollars, but percentage-wise, which means they are left with less that they have to live on. They understand the question, what is enough? They understand the question, what is a success for our family? They understand that giving deepens their relationship with God. So out of fear, out of a lack of focus, because we think we need more finances, and because sometimes family members are not always on the same page. We don't all have the same level of commitment. It's when you don't have the same level, it's hard to give at a level that satisfies both folks. Thinking about this made me wonder. You remember the story about Zacchaeus, the little guy up in a tree there so he can see Jesus. Jesus picks him out, and Jesus realizes that his life needs to be changed, and Zacchaeus realizes his name he needs to be changed because he's been robbing his friends, and he commits all sorts of generous giving to Jesus as he interacts with him. I've always wondered what Mrs. Zacchaeus said with him giving away all of his income. A family member being on the same page because of different levels of commitment keep us from giving in a way that we should. And this is probably the most important one. I probably should have started with it. Money is a forbidden topic. Money is taboo in our society. We don't talk about money. We don't talk about our income. When was the last time you went to the coffee shop and said, to your group or anybody that's there, I make so much and I got all this stuff. We don't talk about that. I've said a number of times in my time here, I know more about your sex lives than your income. and the way you use money, other than what I can see. You can talk about that. But money is oftentimes a forbidden topic. And we here in the church don't teach about it because of that. We don't take the time to seriously connect spirituality with our finances. So, because we don't deal with those issues, we don't become more generous. It's a hindrance because we don't talk about it. All right. Through our extravagant generosity, I believe God can do some extraordinary things. Through our giving, God changes our lives, and in changing them, transforms us into extravagantly generous people. What does an extravagantly generous person look like? We're going to run through about 9 things. 9 practices that can stretch us to offer our utmost to God, rather than living in a haphazard, unplanned, hectic, reactive, mediocre, and mechanical way. Okay. A person who is extravagantly generous gives from a first priority. The first check that's written to pay the bills every month is giving back to God, is a tithe to the church or giving to the church. The first check you write. You know, there may be the next check that goes to your favorite charity, but giving goes first, and you live from the rest of it. God's math is really interesting. God says, if you give away 10% of your income and you live on 90%, I can make that 90% like 110 or 120%. God's math is really different than ours. The first check's written, not given from what's left. A person who demonstrates extravagant generosity gives to God the way God has given to us. Liberally, over the top, joyously, with passion.